everybody. How you doing? I'm Tim from Las Vegas.
I'm Sam from the Pacific Northwest. Hello, everyone.
And we are here again, getting together, chatting, catching up, talking about some stuff.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the topic we're going to talk about today is something I think it's really, really good. There's a lot of stuff to get into about it. And I think you're all going to enjoy it. But let's get started with just basically, Sam, how you been for the past week? Okay?
Man, I have been trying to get my feet on the ground, and I think I finally have. It's weird. You know the saying, I need a vacation from my vacation?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's a real thing. It's definitely first world problems. I get it. I totally get it. I was talking to a buddy that sits behind me at the we're all season ticket holders, and we all kind of sit together, so we get to know each other over the course of the season. And we're at the hockey game last night, and he says, "So how you been doing?" And I'm like, "Well, man, I need a vacation from my vacation." He said, "Man, I haven't had a vacation in years." I was like, "Dude, first world problems. I'm sorry, man." But he was like, "No, I get what you're saying, but hey, that's a good problem to have," that kind of stuff. So it nothing to complain about. Nothing to complain about. But we're getting ready to list our old house, and so we're having to coordinate, getting out there to do final touch-ups and coordinate with the contractor that we have that's doing the painting and doing the touch-ups for a lot of the cosmetic stuff around the house that you just don't notice. And we're finding a lot of things that the people who built the house just didn't do. Things like where the washer and dryer is supposed to go. There's no baseboards around, the wall. And our contractor's like, what the heck? Why didn't they put those in there? Well, it's because the washer and dryer is going to be sitting there. You don't really need it. But it's one of those things where when the washer and dryer is not there, it's a glaring thing. And so we're just trying to get the house to look as nice as possible so that we can get it sold, hopefully, very quickly. So it's stuff like that. And then on top of that is all the other stuff, getting the kids to school, getting the kids to, like eye appointments and dental appointments and school and weightlifting practice after school. And Jesse had to drive Dante out to Chelan, which is like 45 minutes away, to go practice for his solo ensemble that's this weekend. And it's like... first world problems, but it's just the way it is. What about you? You just got back from a trip to Nolans, I think, right?
I did. My flight got canceled. Remember, because I think it was the most snow they've had in 100 years or something.
So you had to travel south to get snow, is what I'm saying. What I'm hearing.
Yeah. So my flight got canceled. I was supposed to arrive Tuesday. My flight got canceled Tuesday. My flight got canceled Wednesday, and I was able to get there Thursday night. But over Tuesday and Wednesday, I was on the phone literally for hours, switching flights, trying to find this, because I spent Tuesday scheduling a flight, got it Wednesday, then Wednesday gets canceled. So now I'm back on Wednesday trying to. It was a mess. And you know what? It's sort of what I had to do is I had to keep refreshing, because the ticket site, because it's like I was doing it like literally like every 3 or 4 minutes, refreshing, because all of a sudden a seat would pop up or a seat would, you know what I mean? Like it was one of those kind of things. And then as I'm kind of maybe pushing to get it, it would disappear. And then I would call on the thing. Sometimes I'd get a person right away. Other times, 48-minute wait. If you want to call back, it was horrible. But anyway, again, first world problems, right?
That sounds like the Gen Con hotel room lottery fiasco that happens.
It was a mess. Wow. But I got there. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. The Airbnb, fortunately, they were very pleasant. They refunded me the 2 days I couldn't get there. So that was awesome. Nice. Yeah. So, but no, it was great. I was glad to get out. But let me tell you, Sam, you would agree with this, right? Talking about vacation from your vacation, and I think a lot of folks out there could agree. That first night sleep in your own bed at home, coming back from wherever you are, isn't it really all that?
It doesn't matter how nice the place is that you stayed in as well.
Doesn't matter.
It could be the swankiest thing ever, but you get back to your own bed and it's like heaven.
It is. And I wish I could have I wish all my sleep nights were like that one first night. You know what I mean?
Right?
You get
Yeah.
back in your own funk, whatever you want. your own smell, your own environment.
I'm comfortable in my own filth again.
Yeah, but just everything. It's just so nice, It really is.
That's awesome.
And how about games? Did you have a chance to play any games in the past week or so?
Yeah, I mean, if we'll just jump right into that. I mean, I held Jesse and I host. We try to do one every month. We didn't get it one in December because things are too hectic in December at the church. But we try to host a board game event at our church every month, and we were able to kind of slide one in at the very last minute here for January.
Oh, nice.
And we didn't know how many people were going to show up because we didn't get the clearance to use our atrium space until, like, I don't know, 4 days before the event was supposed to happen. So we had no real clue as to how many people were going to show up. But some of our friends that usually come kind of spread the word a little bit to the different groups that they're involved with. And we actually had, I mean, we didn't do an actual count this time. We usually do, but I didn't. Maybe Jesse did, but we had a room full of people. We had a room full of people, and we were able to play a lot of different kinds of games. And the new people that were coming in from our Stitch group. The Stitch is like our college age group at church, and there were probably 15 to 20 of them, just their group, that came. And then we also had a pretty good group of people that came down, about anywhere from 6 to 8 people that are just our regulars. So we had a pretty good group. And because of that influx of people that don't usually come, we had a lot of different games that were being played. I don't remember them, but there was one table that had like 12 people around it, and they were playing some party game, and I don't remember what it was called. It sounded like it almost sounded like, and again, I didn't actually get to watch because I was involved in other games, but it sounded like a marriage between Telestrations and Just One. That's what it sounded like, but I don't know exactly what it was.
Do you know the game Sides?
What?
Sides? SIDES?
I don't think so. I don't think that was it. But they had everybody had their own board, and they had to write stuff on it. I don't remember what it was, but it was a cool connection because a couple of people brought some games that they're used to playing, and one of them brought in Doomlings, and I had just covered Doomlings on the channel, and so I was able to talk to him about that. But it was good. It was a good time. But as far as games that I was able to play, I was able to play, and the first one I'll talk about is, this is the first time I've ever played this game. Crokinole. Really? I've never played Crokinole before. Wow. I've played with the thing and flicked the discs around, but I've never actually played the game Crokinole by the rules as they're supposed to be played.
Have you ever played Carom? Or have you played Carom? You know, that similar kind of game?
Yeah, I mean, I've played a lot of different similar kinds of games, but I've never played Crokinole before. Wow. And a guy had just got his Crokinole board in that he ordered from Mayfair, and with their Kickstarter. You know, they run a Kickstarter every couple of years, I think, and they don't keep any stock on hand. They just fulfill the Kickstarter, and then they run another one that, and you know, a couple of years later, and just fulfill it. And so he got his board in, and he brought it. Those things are freaking heavy, dude. Those Crokinole boards. Yes. Daggum. I was like, it can't be that heavy, but it's kind of hefty. Anyway, he taught us how to play, me and another buddy. And he was playing something with his son over on the other side, but he had it set up and was ready to teach us. And so he went through the rules real quickly, and we really had a good time playing Crokinole.
It's a fantastic game.
I'm going to have to get myself a Crokinole board now. And that's kind of sucky because those freaking things are expensive.
They are, especially if you want a high quality one. Yes.
And you do, right? Because it's going to be one of those things that you set up and it's kind of like a draw. So you want a nice one, and I really want a Captain America Shield Crokinole board. I really want that. I don't know if that exists, but it should. So I'm going to look into
I would
that.
recommend a Canadian company. There are
Okay.
several up there because I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Crokinole is Canadian, correct?
I don't know. I
mean,
mean, they came up with curling, so it kind of makes sense.
True, curling on a board. Yeah, so yeah, I would recommend. That's where I got. Yeah, because they make some good boards up there.
All right, I'll look into that. I'll look into Canadian Crokinole companies. How's that for a little alliteration?
There you go, Canadian Crokinole Company. Nice, Sam. Nice.
Yeah, that sounds like that needs to be a company.
I think so. There you go. Yeah, but
So that's my
fantastic.
first one. It was a brand new game for me, and it's one that's been around for forever. So I am now a fan of Crokinole.
Yes, and you know that it's funny you say that because my wife isn't like a gamer at all.
Yeah.
However, like in we've been together, I don't know, 37 years or something like that, whatever. And she has maybe asked me to play a game like maybe 4 or 5 times, and I would say probably 3 or 4 of those times have been to play Crokinole because yeah, you know what I mean? Because again, her not being a gamer, you don't have to learn rules, you don't have to understand things or do. You just flick a disc, you know what I mean? So,
right. Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that you have to understand how to do and all that other kind of stuff, and how you're going to score points and all that. But as far as the other mechanism, it's just blink.
Yep. Yeah, Crokinole is fantastic. Well, that's good. That's really good that you finally got that to the table because that is a wonderful game. Well, the two I want to talk about, the first one is, again, in our world, right? This is a really old game. And I'm talking about the hobby gaming from 1995. One of my favorite games. I don't know if you've had a chance to play it, but I was able to get it out when I was to play last week, and I played it again last night with some friends. That is Contingent. Have you ever played that game?
Yeah.
And,
I remember playing Condottiere. I used to call it. I always mispronounced it and called it Condottiere.
That sounds great. That sounds fantastic, right? So I don't know which it is, Condottiere, whatever.
No, that's fine.
But it's very simply a card game. You're trying. It's it's a war game with numbers, and you get Scarecrow, take cards back, Winter, make everything one, the Heroine, the Peace, the Key. I really enjoy it. It is one of those games, sort of like in the diplomacy realm, the diplomacy type game, where you need to go into it knowing that it's a very, what I don't like the term, so I'm not even going to say it. It's a very aggressive game. The term that a lot of people use. It's a very aggressive. It's meant to be stab you in the back, betray, put other people. That's the intent of a lot of the game. Because even in the rules, it says, hey, you may discuss things openly. You may show people cards. You can't trade cards. And then it even says, however, make deals, but nothing is binding. You know what I mean? So as long as everybody at the table is fully aware that that is the intent, the game was made for that type of interaction, it's just phenomenal. I really, really enjoy that game.
I usually avoid at all costs those kinds of games. Usually. Now, it's a little strange because while I like diplomacy, I think you would have to threaten to murder my puppy in order to get me to play that game. There's so much about diplomacy and diplomacy-esque kind of games that I just don't enjoy. Like I've played TI4. TI4 is very much the same way. Nothing is really binding. You don't ever have to do whatever you tell somebody what you want to do and all this other kind of stuff. And getting stabbed in the back is an absolute possibility in TI4. I've played another one that's called, oh gosh, I can't remember, Cutthroat Caverns. I actually had a glass of water thrown in my face at the end of that game before, because it's one of those, you need to cooperate, but you still want to be the best, that type of thing. And so there was this part where I just left this dude out to dry because it wasn't going to help me. It was only going to help him, and it wasn't really going to help the rest of the group. It was just going to get him out of a bind. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Splash.
I mean, how could you not go into that? The title says it all.
Cutthroat. I know, it's cutthroat. Hello. But he just decided to throw a glass of water in my face. And so that was the last time I played Cutthroat Caverns. And I usually try to avoid those kinds of games anyway, because I don't like doing that to other people. I don't like breaking my allegiances, so to speak. If I've said I'm going to help you, I'm probably going to help you until the game's over, even if that means that I'm going to lose, which is kind of stupid from a gamer's perspective. I get that, but
it is stupid.
I don't. Gee, you don't have to agree with me, Tim. Jeez, Louise. But I just don't like playing those kind of games. But I get it. I understand the thrill, the adrenaline is there, and I get it. But I just don't really enjoy those. But I do enjoy semi-cooperative games like Dead of Winter. I enjoy Dead of Winter, and that has a traitor aspect to it.
Battlestar Galactica. You talked about that before.
Battlestar Galactica. Yes, I like those kinds of things because I don't know. I guess the grandeur and the themes of the games appeal to me more than just to the mechanisms. But it is what it is. Some games I like that kind of stuff. Other games I super abhor it. So just what it is, I guess. The second game that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to break the rules a little bit because I get to teach one game. So I'm going to talk about 3 games.
No, you don't.
And if you want, I'll edit it out later. It's okay. Anyway, so the second game that I actually played was a game called Middle Ages from Studio H. And this has been on my radar for a long time, and was able to play it a couple of months ago, and we played it a few times since. And then we played it. Let me see. Yeah, I taught Brian and Clint, and me and Jesse played a 4-player game of it. It actually goes up to 5 players. But we played a 4-player game of it, and it was the first time for Clint and Brian to play. Jesse and I had played before, but we really enjoyed this. It's a great little open drafting set collection kind of engine building thing that's going on. Not really set collection, more engine building. That's going on as you add more types of different buildings to your fiefdom. They're going to fire off and gain you income. They could possibly, you could possibly get taxes from other players because you have more mills than you do, or they have, fewer mills than you do. You can also make people destroy their buildings because your army has attacked their province, and you have more barracks than they have towers. So it's basically just a you're really just trying to build your engine. So there is that multiplayer solitaire feel, but at the same time, the interaction comes in with a couple of the different buildings, with the mills and with the barracks. And so you do have to kind of pay attention to what everybody else is doing, so you don't get hit really hard by those 2 buildings that other people might be building. But basically, you're just trying to generate the most income by the end of the game. But it has a King Domino-esque open drafting system where you're going to take the tiles and you're going to arrange them from left to right in numerical order that's on the backs, and then you turn them over. And of course, the lower numbers are your lower, your less powerful buildings. Higher numbers are the more powerful buildings, but you don't know exactly what it is until you turn it over. And there's some event cards that happen at the end of every round, 4 phases. So you're going to basically add 16 buildings to your fiefdom over the course of the game, and then you're just trying to be the one that scored the most money. And money is points at the end of the game. So it's really fun. It's really fast. Turns are super quick, which means the game goes super quick as well. And we really enjoyed it. Had a great time. It's got a great theme too, the Middle Ages. There's a lot of games out there that have that theme, but a lot of them are heavy. And this is a light family weight game that only takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play. And you are satisfied at the end of it.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy it. It was a great time.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that to the table because Middle Ages is a very good game. Yeah, it's been a while since I played that, but I remember I did enjoy it. I played it a couple times. Really, really good.
Cool.
Yeah, so another one I got to the table. The second one I'm going to talk about, not the third one, like some people on this show. But
breaking the law.
The second one I'm going to talk about is a game that I've been around a lot, have seen played quite a few times, at the table, and I never had any interest. However, when you're with friends and somebody says, "Hey, you want to play?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to give it a try."
Yeah.
And I was so pleasantly surprised, really enjoyed it because the theme, nothing. Anyway, the title is Quartermaster General.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you've ever played it. So
I've played one of the earlier iterations of it. I know they've come out with different themed versions, but yeah. So go ahead.
All right. So Quartermaster General is a war game, right? It's exactly what it sounds like. I played the World War II version because, like you said, I think they have like World War I, World War II, whatever, different kind of things. I'm not a big war gamer, anything like that. However, it was described to me as War Game, the party game. And when I played it, it felt like that, and I really enjoyed it. So basically, you are playing Axis and Allies, and it's a 3-on-3 game. We played the full complement of 6 people, and you sit around the table. So you're, I don't even know which one is which. I was I don't know. Like I said, I'm sorry. I don't know these terms. I was Russia, right? And on my team, I believe it was Great Britain and America, right? So I don't know whether those are Axis and Allies. Which one is it?
Those are the Allies.
Those are the Allies. Okay. Like I said, I don't know nothing about that stuff. But you have to sit Ally, Axis, Ally, whatever going around the table. And since I was the first time, they gave me Russia, and you each have your own individual deck. Everybody has an asymmetric individual deck. And Russia apparently was just big on just building armies and fighting. That was kind of like their whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And on your turn, you just play a card and draw a card. It's that simple, that quick. So I won't get into the whole weeds and all that kind of stuff, but just the fun, the interaction, because you can, like, one of the cards you can play could be a response card, and that's sort of like a little ninja card sitting there because it's face down, and you can just build those up so it goes around, and then when somebody does an action, you can flip over your response card. It's like an interrupt, right, on their turn. But they don't know what it is, but they know you've got it sitting down there face down. You can put 1, 2, or 3, but whatever. But if you do, that's just your one action per turn. You draw a card, next person's turn.
Yeah.
And it was really enjoyable. Like, it was one of those kind of things I was like, hey, anybody want to play this again? Like right now? I mean, like, I really had a good time. And
That's
again,
cool.
When we play so many games, right? So many different types of games also. I haven't had this feeling in a long time where I was playing a game that I have seen, have known about, and I knew I had zero interest in the theme or that at all. But then playing it and being so pleasantly surprised and just like what a great feeling, right? Because that sort of thing doesn't happen a whole lot, right? Where like you go into something with sort of like a mindset, right? A preconceived notion. And then you're just flipped 180 degrees and wow. Yeah. I so anyway, anybody who has a chance to play that game again, the theme is there. I have to say the theme is there. That's what it's all about. But you do not have to be a sort of quote unquote war gamer to just enjoy the play and enjoy the game. So Quartermaster General.
That's cool. Yeah, I was actually just when I was at the Dice Tower Studios, I was walking around and there was a game that Tom was looking at for Dice Tower Essentials, and it had a World War II theme on it, and I was like, "Oh, hey, what is this?" Because I also recognized the designer's name, and I was like, "Oh, World War II from that person." Ooh, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's not going to be World War II because nobody wants to play World War II games." And I was like, I do.
Yeah.
And so, because I was like, that dude making a World War II game?
Right.
Yeah, I'm on board. And he was like, it's not going to be World War II. And it's not, I want that. I'm like, anyway, it is what it is.
It is true,
Sometimes
though, right?
War themes can be very off-putting.
They sure
because
can, because
people automatically think there's going to be too much conflict. There's going to be too much this. There's going to be too much this. I don't like the idea of war anyway, which totally understand. Who likes war? But sometimes the theme can put you off of a game that you would otherwise really enjoy.
No,
so
absolutely.
I totally get that.
Absolutely, and like I just illustrated, to show the audience how stupid I am. Like just to show people how like I have zero interest about that. I literally did not even know what the Axis and Allies was. You know what I mean? Which side was which. I really don't know anything much about World War II or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I know the basic stuff. Who won? Fortunately, the good guys. But what I mean?
Well, the Allies were the good guys.
We're the good guys. Yes. Oh, that's a good way. That's a good way to remember right there. Okay, the Allies were the good guys. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You're right. So it's a very, very sort of small niche. And I think I could be wrong. I don't know if you would agree with this. I think it's even getting smaller as far as like sort of like the people who are into the war games. Because you remember those Avalon Hill and 3M games, you see the old guys at conventions. Sometimes they pull it out. They'll have their magnifying glass and the tweezer with the little shits.
Well, now again, in their defense, it's because they're old and they need that magnifying glass, first of all.
True. But
and their fine motor skills are also falling by the wayside, so they need those tweezers.
Yeah.
But yes, even back when Joe, Tom, and I were living all in Korea, I would actually go on our lunch break. I would go up to Joe's room every once in a while, sometimes, and we only did it a couple of times. I don't want to make it sound more than it was, but and we would play Advanced Squad Leader on his desk during our lunch break, and that's exactly what we would do. We would have tweezers. Those little chits are there's so many of them, and I got meat hooks for fingers, and so but the problem is, I think, is that by and large, that group, in many instances, not all, because I don't want to make a sweeping statement here, but in many instances, that group doesn't do well to reach out to the younger crowd. And so when you see those people playing games at conventions, they're usually kind of standoffish, or at least they seem that way. I've talked to a lot of them, and they're super nice people. Nice people, but they just have that look or that air about them, and it's that whole "get off my lawn" look that a lot of, and I'm going to say this, us older people just have that look about us sometimes, and it's not that we are that way. We've just we're thinking about something, and it's like and we have that look.
True,
but just the way it is.
Yeah, in their defense, Sam, I would have to say, I think I can understand why. I don't want to speak for them, but it's kind of like with like sort of me, and what people would call like Tishu players, right? It's kind of like if I play Tishu, I want to play with people who play Tishu. So when you say maybe they're off-putting or not welcoming, I would say the same for those type of war gamers. It's like, yeah, no, I don't really want to teach you. I don't want to if you have an interest. No, I want to play a war game with a war gamer, right?
Especially at a convention, because they've maybe scheduled that as an event, and they're like coming fully loaded, no holds barred. I'm about to lay the smackdown, and they're not in a teaching or proselytizing mode. They are in,
let's get down to business mode. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I totally get it. And yeah, I'm not trying to be disparaging against that group. It's just that unfortunately the younger crowd, they're pulling fewer and fewer of that crowd into that genre. Um, but I think that's one of the good reasons why games like Undaunted, games like Memoir 44, games like Combat Commander, those games are a little bit more appealing.
Mhm.
And so it's a good thing that they exist, because at
Right.
least they can be introductions to them.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, okay. So the third game I'm going to talk about, and it's going to be fast. It's because I've only played it once, and I got to teach it to a couple of guys, a couple of that Stitch group that was at the thing today, and that's Run, Run, Run from 25th Century Games. This is a reprint, not a reprint. This is a second edition of an older game. I believe it came out in 2019, but it is a Bruno Cathala design. With
Okay.
a co-design with another gentleman, and I can't remember his name, and the box isn't where I can see it. But you're basically adventurers. I'm sorry, cat venturers that are in a mummy's tomb, a Egyptian pyramid, I guess. And the maze, you're basically constructing a maze that leads out from the sarcophagus, or the pharaoh's chamber where he was laid to rest. And there are going to be mummies that are awakened that are going to try to find their way back to that pharaoh's chamber. And you're trying to keep them from getting to the chamber, because if they get back to the chamber, they're going to be availed of all of the power that rests in there, and they're going to try to take over the world. So you're trying to keep them from getting there, and it's a tile placement kind of dice rolling combat resolution game. You have very small powers, variable player powers, and it's just a really neat puzzle to figure out with the different tiles, because in order for the boss to come out, you have to open a certain number of doors, and you open those doors only by laying the tiles in a certain configuration, so that you can unlock one door, and you have to do that 3 times before the boss wakes up, and then once the boss wakes up, you have to kill him and any mummies that are left over in order to win. But if at any time any one of those mummies, whether it's the boss or the kind of peon mummies, get into the pharaoh's chamber, you've lost. So it's a really neat game. The one time that Jess and I played, we got we got the boss monster. He was the last guy left, down to 2 hit points left, and then he moved into the pharaoh's chamber and ended the game, and we lost. But we almost won, but that was on easy.
Nice.
So
Very good.
it was a really fun game, though. And the guys that I taught it to, the 2 guys that I taught it to, really enjoyed it. They had a great time. So I'm looking forward to getting that one to the table a little bit more.
Oh, fantastic. Sounds like a great game. Oh, well, very good. Well, as you see, we've been getting playing games, and fortunately, I've been able to play a lot more games lately. So I'm really happy about that, how my life is getting to play more games now. So that's good.
Super. Yeah, it's
so
always good.
when this show airs, it'll be probably about a week before an important deadline for Dice Tower West, because that's coming up March 5th through 9th in Las Vegas. So just real quick, February 16th is the last day to buy online badges for Dice Tower West. Okay. Just to be clear, badges will be available at the door for $25 more, whether you want the 3-day or the 5-day. And then after the 16th, when the online badges close, that's when we open up the transfer, so people can transfer. You can buy badges from people. So they'll probably sell it to you. Well, I mean, they can't sell it more because we don't allow that. So they'll either sell it to you for at the going rate or maybe even lower. So what you might want to look on that to go ahead and get transfer badges from people. And also another important deadline, folks, as of now, so this will be a week or 2 from when this is aired, our hotel block is, I'm not going to say it's reached our guarantee. Okay. So what that means is our block is technically full. However, the hotel is right now allowing people to buy more hotel rooms under our block. at our rate. So if you're on the fence, don't be on the fence. Buy a room, because I just got off the phone with them yesterday. They can literally cut it off like right now without even telling me. Like, it could be cut off and the rooms could be jacked way up the prices. So if you're just get your room, get your badge, get all that, get out here and join us in March to play some games.
So doesn't the Westgate have some history behind it? Am I misremembering?
No. The Westgate used to be the Las Vegas Hilton. That's where Elvis had his residency.
That's the history that I'm talking about. That's a selling point, man.
And not only that, that's where they had, like, when Muhammad Ali, you had the big fights. That's where they had them, at the Las Vegas Hilton.
Yeah.
Where you go buy your or check-in, whatever you call it, the lobby, they got a big statue of Elvis. A matter of fact, a couple years ago, Tom, Dave, and I went up to the Elvis suite and toured around and saw it, like where he stayed.
Man.
And, he used to have all these back corridors and alleyways, like, to get to the stage and all that kind of stuff. But, that Las Vegas Hilton has a rich, rich history. And another great thing, thank you, Sam, for bringing that up, is the monorail has a station right there to get you anywhere down all the way as far as to Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard to the MGM, which is the last stop. And they just sent us the thing. I don't know if anybody's going to want to do it. They may want to do it just to see what it's about, because, again, it's one of those kind of bucket list things. You can say, hey, I did it. There is a loop stop at the Westgate. What the loop is from Elon Musk a boring company, Boring, I believe it is. And they've got these tunnels underground where you can get to the convention center and stuff in like a Tesla. It's a weird thing, I know. But think of it as a subway, but it's a Tesla car, and that's it. It's like it's a tube.
That sounds like the beginning of a weird movie. I'm just saying.
You're right. It's just a tube.
I got stuck in the tunnels underneath the Westgate in a Tesla. Help!
I know, right? But again, it's a tube just a little bit bigger than a car, and it gets you around. So people just may want to do it to say they did it. I don't know. So that's a brand new thing. And the Westgate has what's the loop? It's got a loop stop at the Westgate, so you can try that too. So
the loop.
Yeah, the loop. And again, you got Vegas, you got a whole bunch of stuff. But the best part is getting together with people, the Dice Tower crew, playing games face to face at one of the friendliest events, board gaming events on the planet. So please try to make it to Dice Tower West if you can in March.
Yes.
So I want to get to this topic. This is really, really great. We got about 20 minutes, so we want to get into it. And the topic, folks, is about teaching and learning. Now, I also want to preface this by starting saying that, like they do with a lot of TV shows, any of the opinions given on this channel are strictly ours, because a lot of people have strong opinions, right, about teaching and all that kind of stuff. So again, this is just our thoughts. So I'd like to start this, Sam, to try to give the audience a little bit of insight into exactly sort of where we're going in our discussion. So I'm going to really limit you and try to do this. And if you want me to start, I will, but I need just maybe a 1 or 2 maximum sort of USP sentence on your thoughts about teaching. Like, what I mean? So really like 1 or 2 sentences. Do you want me to start, or are you ready to go with that?
I can do that.
Okay. So just your idea, your sort of selling point or USP or whatever about teaching.
Okay. So my first, I guess my first sentence will be, make sure that you know the game. My second will be, please don't read the rules as you teach them to me. That will be my 2 sentences as far as I'm concerned. Make sure you know the game, and please don't read the rules to me as you're teaching, because I am going to completely just lose interest if you are sitting here reading the game rules to me like story time. If I want to go to sleep, I read, because my brain just begins to shut down. And if I'm listening to somebody read to me, it's even worse. And I think that is something that many people do.
Right. Okay. So my two sentences would be is number one, I think, which I think a lot of us neglect, and I do too. I do sometimes. I wish I should do all the time. Is I think you should ask people how they want to be taught.
Good.
And number two, I think you should know your audience that you're teaching.
Very good.
Okay, so let's go ahead, Sam. Let's go ahead and start the discussion and bring up a whole bunch of things. Let's start with one of your points.
All right. Well, I think one of the things that I said goes very well with one of the things that you said, and that is know the game well, and then and what you said was know your audience well. And I think those two things really go hand in hand, because if you know the game well enough and you know the audience that that it will probably hit well with, or you already know the people that you're going to be playing games with, you'll be able to kind of tailor make um, the uh, the choices that they will have in front of them as far as what games you're going to teach them. And I think one of the things is that you need to know not just a game, but you need to have a very good understanding about a large breadth of games when you're going to be teaching games. And I think those two things go hand in hand. You need to know games well enough to be able to teach them, not have to really resort to reading the rule book, but you also need to know your audience and know
Yes.
how they learn games well, because you could be teaching a game the way that you learn how to play it, and it was very good for you, but it's deadpan as far as who you're teaching it to. And you need to be able to read that room and switch gears
Right.
if that is happening.
And this goes hand in hand to what one of my big points, and I know a lot of people don't do enough, and I do because I try to, and it's one of those kind of things I forget and I do a lot, is ask people how they want to be taught. Because just like you said, most of us, I would dare say all of us, teach how we like to be taught, right? That's how we're going to impart that knowledge on other people. It may not be what is best for them, but how we think they should be taught. And it's funny when I say that, because it's sort of like we are imposing our views on how they should learn it on them without asking them how is best for them, right? Because somebody like me, I have a couple of friends, it's always boggled my mind. They can like read a rule book and they know the game. I cannot do that.
Me neither.
I am a listen. I need to do something to learn it. And one of my groups that I played with, they knew. I told them, you guys got 10 minutes. That's it. You got 10 minutes just to tell me what I can do on my turn, and I'll learn as I go. But people have always, a lot of times they've been afraid of, oh, well, I don't like to do that. Because people are always like, oh, well, you never taught me that. You never. And I'm like, no, well, I'm not like that, because I just want to get going. If you talk to me for 20 or 30 minutes, by the time you get to minute 30, I've lost the first 5 or 10. Let's just go. Let's just play,
Yeah.
But
I that is really kind of a standard that I think a lot of people should adhere to when they're teaching a game. You have 10 minutes before you start losing your audience.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
And I think that's, whether you're making videos or you are making, you're sitting down with somebody to teach a game. And really 10 minutes is kind of the maximum. When I'm doing a review and I'm doing the game explanation part, 10 minutes is really kind of the maximum for, now I might do other things, and I'm not the one that makes short videos on the Dice Tower. Everybody freaking knows that. But that's kind of my unwritten rule, is that I need to keep my game explanations at maximum 10 minutes. And if I can get it done shorter than that, I absolutely am going to, because I mean, really 10 minutes is a long attention span nowadays.
It is.
Which is unfortunate, which is super unfortunate. People just don't have the attention spans that they used to, because we've got so much instant gratification going on.
Yep.
So you really have to understand that. What I usually do is I break up the game explanation when I'm sitting at a table trying to teach the game. I break it up with questions, and I get them to provide some input, get their brain juices flowing, so that first of all, it tells me, do they have what I've already told them, and can I move on to something else, or it helps me rehash some stuff that they didn't understand, even though I might think that I explained it very well. You never know. So, after I get through explaining 2 of the things that they can do on their turn out of 4, I'll say, okay, do you have any questions? Does all that make sense to you? All that kind of stuff. I'll just break it up and throw a couple of questions in there, get some feedback, and then we continue on. So,
I think a lot of one of the big things I think is on both sides there could be a level of anxiety. And what I mean by that is the person teaching the game can have the anxiety, like I said, because they don't want to be sort of yelled at or later in the game, well, you didn't tell me that, because a lot of people do that, unfortunately. And it's kind of like, as a matter of fact, I did tell you that like 37 times. You just forgot. That's on you. Don't, you know what I mean? Whatever. But so I think there's anxiety from people on the teaching side where it's kind of like, oh, I have to tell them everything because I don't want them to come back and blah, blah, blah. I really have to. And on the learning side, there's the anxiety of, again, retaining that information, or, that's why, asking people how they want to learn, because, you're anxious about whether you're going to remember, whether you're going to catch it, whether you're this or that, blah, blah, blah. And again, I'm one of those kind of people, when I'm learning a game, just tell me what I can do, because I want to learn what some of my friends call a rolling teach. Okay. I just want to do something. Like I don't care if I just want to do something and learn it. Then I'm like, okay, if I didn't learn it the first time, I'll do the same exact action my second turn. I don't care if I win. I'm just wanting to learn the game. And then I'm like, okay, now I understand what that move does.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also, go ahead.
I think one of the things that I don't always do this, but on the heavier games, and again, I don't teach a whole lot of heavy games, but on the heavier side of games, I will usually take a moment and just say, hey, listen, remember, this is a teaching game. You guys are learning. I've only played this game a couple of times, or whatever it might be. Just remember, we're all learning the game together. Taking some time and saying, and as I go through and teach, I'm not going to teach you every single detail of the game, because what happens when this and this happens isn't relevant in the first part of the game, because it's not going to happen then.
Right.
So when it becomes relevant, I'll explain it to you. But just realize you're not going to get to drink from the fire hose, because that's not how I teach games. I'm just going to get us started, and we're going to learn together. And I think more often than not, if you have that point of clarification at the beginning of the teach, it makes the instances of, well, you didn't tell me that, much less, because people aren't expecting to learn everything and know everything before the game starts. So it lessens that to a degree.
Yes. However, Sam, I'm going to use that term, which I really like that you brought up when we talked about in our last discussion, and you brought up the term a social contract, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of times a teaching game, no, I try to say that a lot. Hey, it's a teaching game. It's a learning game, because I think you do want to set those boundaries, those parameters. Hey, it doesn't matter who wins, doesn't matter who loses. Don't sit there, don't have AP, blah, blah, blah. But some people, again, like with the anxiety I was talking about, some people just inherently, they can't come to the agreement about the social contract. And it's kind of like and I'm not saying this is wrong, but I'm just saying some people need to do their best. So they can't just do something to just do it so we can all kind of move on, because that's going to cause anxiety for them. They need to be able to do their best move. And I get that. So even though it's the first time learning a game, they're going to sit there and be like, no, wait a second. He told me that. And they're going to be thinking, it's just kind of like, just do something, please. Just move on. This is a learning game, a teaching game.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And I have run into people that are like that, where they do get very anxious because because they don't know how everything is supposed to work out, because I haven't explained how everything works yet.
Right. Yep.
They have these questions. And that's another thing that I kind of tell people at the very beginning of the game. Listen, if you have questions, this is a learning game. Ask your questions. We will pause and I will show you all of that kind of stuff. So if I've explained to you what A, B does, and you're already talking or thinking about what D, E, and F do, ask that question and I'll provide a connector. I might not give them all of the details, but I'll tell them, because I don't want to bog everybody else down, but I will try to, if I can use the word, placate their curiosity as much as I can so that they say, oh, okay. And usually if I've only explained A, B, and C, and they're already talking about G, H, and I, they're already tracking
Right.
on how the different mechanisms are working together. And more often than not, I don't have to worry about them picking up on how the rules are concerned. What I've done in my own mind at this point is I've said, okay, they're tracking how this game plays. Because usually if somebody's asking questions, they're tracking. People that don't ask questions, that means there's a barrier somewhere that either needs to be at least identified or maybe even broken down so that they feel comfortable asking questions now.
Right. And I think what happened to me on the cruise, actually, and it's sitting right here, Unconscious Mind, I think sometimes to ease the whole teaching, learning game process is
Mm,
to initially set up what the expectations are. And what I mean by that is you can tell folks, hey, listen, we're not going to be able to get a whole game in. We are just doing this game so everybody can learn the game. And what I
mm,
did, because this was like, I think it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I saw this
mm.
couple, lovely couple, David and Chris, they had a Unconscious Mind out on the table, and I saw them reading the rule books. I'm like, hey, you guys learning? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, listen, I could teach you, but it's kind of late, so we're not going to play a whole game. This is a long game. Like, and so when we sat down, we set it up, and I was like, okay, David, here, do this, right? And he just did it. This is how this works. He learned it. Chris, your turn. Do this. Okay. So that we just did things as we went to learn the game. And there was no
Yeah.
expectation of finishing the game, winning the game. None of that
Mhm.
expectation was there. It was
That's cool.
strictly about learning the game. You see what I
Yep.
mean? So with
Yep.
that social contract, you have to sometimes, I think, look for the greater good. Okay, listen,
Yep.
I can't worry about my best move. That's sort of not important in this social contract of the learning game. What I need to do is just something. What haven't we done yet? You know what? For the greater good, let me just do that move. Regardless if it's going to help me or not, who cares? But
Just to see
we'll
how it
learn
works.
just to see how it works so we can all learn it and we can move on. You see what I
Yep.
mean? But I
Yep.
think it's hard for people, I think, to adopt that social contract. I'll keep coming back to that word. I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I'm overusing it. I think that was a
No,
great
no, no,
term.
no, 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 no. It's a great moniker, I think, because people just don't look at it that way, And so I think if we can get more people to think of it that way as a social contract that you're agreeing to, some people might say, "Oh, well, I'm not taking part in any contract. I'm out." That might push people away. But I think it clarifies, certain behaviors. It clarifies certain behaviors if you put it that way. So you're not overusing it, in my opinion.
Right. And also because that learning game, if you sort of condense it that way to say, hey, that's all it is. It's who
Mhm.
doesn't care matter who wins. We're just learning how to play things.
Yep.
It also lets you determine whether you like the game or not, right? Because instead of saying going for the full 2-3 hours, like a game like Unconscious Mind might go through,
Mhm.
if you can condense it into an hour, after that hour, you can be like, yeah, you know what? I'm never playing this again. This game is not for me. Instead of
Right.
going through you know what I mean? And that way,
Yeah.
or you could be like, oh, wow. Yeah, there's a lot more I want to get into that game. Yes, I want to play it again. Now I know how to play it, so we can play it again. So I
Yeah.
think that helps with that also.
Yeah. I think I'm a little bit different in that respect. I usually now don't get me wrong. I have let me explain my thing first. My mind is going bing, 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 bing. I'm a little bit different. I usually like to finish games if I start it so that I can foster a better, more rounded perception of the game in particular. If I play a game for a couple of rounds, I think the only time that I will say, okay, I'm done, is if I don't like the game. And even then, I feel a little bit like I'm cheating the game by making such a snap judgment about it. I have played a game that I've really disliked multiple times in the past. Now, more often than not, it's because I was getting ready to do a review of it and I didn't want to come off, half cocked. But even then, there has been exactly one game that I came off half cocked, and it pissed off the publisher. I mean, not happy at all. And to this day, I think there is some kind of bad blood there. Not
Really?
just, they don't trust me as a reviewer. And, that's an unfortunate thing for me because I didn't. Now, here's the thing. I still don't like the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, kind of, tiptoeing around the fact that I don't like the game anymore. I don't like the fact that it had, a whole 3-page glossary of terms that I had to learn just to play the game. Whatever.
Right.
But because I came off half cocked, because I took more of a rant tone on the review than I did a review tone on the review, that kind of shot me. I kind of shot myself in the foot. But anyway, playing a game for just a couple of rounds will give me an idea of how the game plays, but it won't give me an idea of what the game experience is supposed to be like, in my opinion. Sometimes you have to stop because of time constraints. 2:00 in the morning, unconscious minds, you're a crazy person, Tim. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's the way that is.
Yeah. I agree with you, Sam. I get where you're coming from. And I guess a lot of my sort of thoughts about this topic come from my years of, running the demo team with Yellow and teaching game, because what we had to do is we had to abbreviate a game, right? You're not going to play the whole game when we're demoing. This is to give you an idea, is if you like the game, and most important, that's what we are doing, is you're going to get up and go buy it, right? Like enough to buy it. So what we want to do is give you an abbreviated version of the game. So say a game had 5 rounds, we would be like, okay, the first round, I'm going to teach you through, and then you're going to get to play one full round on your own, and that's the end of the demo, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I think, to me, right, to kind of sort of get towards the end, closing up this argument, to me, that's what learning games should be. It should be where it's not a torture, right? If after the first 20, 30 minutes, you're like, man, this game isn't for me, why should we finish? Because, or go on for another 3 hours when you already know it's not for you, right?
Yeah.
So to me, a learning game should be sort of a learning/demo. Let's just learn how to play and give people that opportunity. Hey, okay, wow, I've spent 45 minutes, an hour of my life, which isn't a whole lot, blah, blah, blah. I've learned the game. Yes, I'm going to go to the library right now, check it out, and play with my friends. Or it's kind of like, I'm taking that. Whoops, I'm taking that on my BGG don't buy list or whatever, you know what I mean? Because it's not for me.
I totally get that, and I think that's an interesting aspect or avenue that you're coming from. That's an important part of the conversation, because I'm on a completely different avenue. I would much rather not be in the exhibitor hall only running demos of games. I would much rather be in the event hall where people have signed up to play a game, learn it, and play it in its entirety. And until you said that, I didn't realize that I was in that mode, because when I work for different companies and when I'm doing demos for different companies at conventions, it really kind of, I know I have to do it because it's what the company wants and what the publisher wants, but it rubs me raw to say, okay, that's it, demo's over, bye. And I know that's not the same terminology that you use, but when I'm sitting there and I see people enjoying the game, I just want to let them play and let them finish the game because they're enjoying it. They're having fun. And it just always kind of rubbed me the wrong way of like, okay, you guys are enjoying it. Yeah, great. Okay, well, see you later.
Yeah.
That just gets me the wrong way.
No, I get it. I get that. And again, because we got to go pretty soon. I'm just gonna end with sort of one thing. This is sort of like, I guess sort of went. I guess I should a pet peeve or an annoyance or whatever with me about learning and teaching games is, again, I'm one of those kind of people. Listen, 10 minutes. Just tell me what I can do on my turn. I just want to get going. That's how I need to learn. However, when I have asked sometimes, hey, do you like to learn? Or people have asked, how do you like to learn? So, oh, well, I need to know it all. I want to know everything before I get started. Great. That's fine. I'll sit through it. Yeah. What gets on my nerves is, why then during the game are you asking 37 questions? You asked to be told everything. They told you everything. And now you continue to ask questions. We could have done my way 10 minutes and gone on. Because there have been times where I'd be like, I know he literally told you that, and now you're asking how to do that, and it's like you wasted everybody's time when you wanted to know everything, but you can't retain everything anyway.
Yeah,
it's like, because I want to be like, I'm sorry, I'd like to be like, hey, okay, Ray, you want the full explanation? Great, I'll sit through the full explanation. Here's the rule: you cannot ask a question during the game because they told you everything.
Or you can't be on your phone while I'm giving you all of the details.
Yeah, but not only that, if you wanted to learn everything, they taught you everything. You cannot ask a question during the game because you were told it. So let's just, you know what I mean? But anyway.
Yeah, that's a hard aspect, because often I think some of the people who want to drink from the fire hose in that respect, they're not going to catch everything, but they're going to catch most of it. And then the stuff that they don't catch, that's the stuff they're asking questions about later on. And I get that is kind of that can be kind of annoying, but those kinds of minds, I liken them to speed readers, because a lot of speed readers have told me that they don't get everything that's on the page. They get the gist of what's going on as they're reading through, and they're able to enjoy the storyline that way, but they're missing details here and there. And that's, when you try to speed learn a game by drinking from the fire hose, you're not going to catch everything. You're not going to get everything. And you're going to inevitably ask questions later on. And that does foster a little bit of annoyance. But I just think it's funny because people usually who are like that, their brains are moving so so quickly rather, that they're missing some details in between.
Yes.
And they're, while you're explaining A, B, and C, as I was saying earlier, they're already talking about or thinking about X, Y, Z. And it's like there's so much stuff in between that.
So to wrap up, like we started, what I'd like to do, we kind of sort of said our one or two sentences about how we think teaching should be done, all that kind of stuff. So let's end up, and I guess I'll go first about how to close it. And again, how we really our views, right? These are just our opinions on how teaching should be done. So I would say maybe 3 points. Number one, I think you should ask the people how they need or want to be taught. Okay. I think that's real important. And I think number two, I think the group or you as the instructor should set the rules to say of the social contract. Like you had brought up, hey, this is a learning game, a teaching game. You're not going to know everything. You're not going to see everything. We're just going to get started in less than 10 minutes so we can get the game going and we can learn as we go. Those are sort of my kind of 2 bullet points about teaching games.
I agree with what you've said. And I think that has to be part of every single time you sit down at a table. Those are kind of like guidelines, parameters that have to be made. You don't want to try to spoon feed somebody that's still drinking milk. Whenever you have a discussion, you have to define your terms and all of that kind of stuff. That's kind of like defining your terms for teaching board games. On top of that, though, I think you need to have your P's and Q's in a row. You know what I'm saying? You need to have your T's crossed and your I's dotted. And I'm not saying that you know everything perfectly, because I can't do that. But you have to be familiar enough with the game to be able to only briefly have to look at the rule book. Otherwise, you're just going to be reading rules to people and you're going to lose your stuff. You're going to lose your audience. It's not cool. I'm a big proponent of explaining in game conditions, how you win, how you lose, and then start at the beginning and go forward with basic skeleton-like structure for the game, so that people have an idea how everything is supposed to work together. Minutia can be taken care of during gameplay.
Correct.
So that's what I would encourage people to do.
Yes, yes. Well, great conversation, Sam. And again, I think the big takeaway we all have to leave with, and again, we'll kind of repeat ourselves for what we were talking about last week about joining a game. The same thing. Again, folks, anytime we're talking about gaming and getting together and doing this hobby, this passion we love, we are entering into like a social contract pretty much anytime we sit at a table with other people, whether it's playing, learning, teaching, whatever. So I think first and foremost, again, we just all have to keep that in mind. All right. Like we've said, be kind, remember the group dynamic. Remember, we're all in this one little 1 hour, 2 hour bubble or whatever together. Let's make it a pleasant experience for everybody, right?
We're all in this together.
Yes, yes. Like a Coke commercial. You want to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. Here we go. Yeah. But again, thanks, Sam. It was great as always. Speaking to you, hanging out with you. I hope you get everything settled with your house so you can get that sold and get that monkey off your back.
Hopefully. Soon.
Soon. Well, thank you, folks, again. Remember, please leave comments in the comment section. Give us the thumb likes up, not only for our video, right, but anything you see, any content you see on the Dice Tower channel, please go ahead, subscribe, like, do all that kind of stuff. And don't forget about Dice Tower West coming up March 5th to 9th in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So until the next time, I'm Tim from Las Vegas.
I'm Sam from the Pacific Northwest.
And we will see you on what, Sam?
The flip side, baby.
There you go. All right. Bye, everybody. Take care.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games. We do top 10s. We play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.